This your boy L Boogie. Just wanted to let you know that here on Guilty by Association's podcast, we are shedding light on life experiences from our own guilty flaws, lessons learned, and still learning as men, and taking a positive outlook from negative circumstances. With a mix of tackling hot topics impacting us in our communities today, GBA is about making moves. So we'll be diving deep and shedding light on important social issues that keep you in motion. So come take a ride with us through this thing called life, with exciting discussions and interviews that will be brutally honest, but fun. But remember, as you enjoy, you'll be guilty by associations.
If what you see by the eye doesn't please you, then close your eyes and see from the heart, because the heart can see beauty and love more than the eyes can ever wonder. All right, what's going on, fellas?
What's going on, man? It's been a long time. Shouldn't have left you.
What's going on? What's going on?
Well, it's been a minute. Well, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Alexander.
I'm Big Mike.
I'm L Boogie.
And this is Guilty by Associations, man. It's been a minute, fellas. I know how y'all been doing though. Y'all been chilling?
Been good. Got over my sickness, but I'm here. A lot been going on in the world.
Welcome back.
I'm excited about this topic, though.
Yeah,
we're gonna have fun with this one.
Oh yeah, you're not alone, Mike. I got over COVID one time, so it came and got me. I dodged for 2 years. The Joker got me, so I'm back.
We
back.
Though.
You know, as my son was rapping the other day, he talking about comeback. He ran out of words. He talking about comeback. You know, he dealing with his knee surgery. You got to do a little knee surgery and all that. He talking about comeback. I'm gonna make a comeback. I said, yeah, that's right, make a comeback. You know what I'm saying? All right, so yeah, this is a great topic, man. The topic we got was interracial dating.
Whoa,
man, interracial dating. I know probably thinking like this is gonna be could be a sensitive or an interesting topic for some folks. Or see, I want to curious how people are gonna respond after this one.
Oh yeah.
Now, I would like to do actually two parts to this because I forgot to mention I got a client who's actually in a interracial marriage, and him and his wife started a podcast talking about interracial relationships and kind of the differences and things like that. So I think they'll be fun to have on this, and maybe do like a little
All right, hey, give them a plug. What's the name of their podcast?
I don't know it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know it off the top of my head. But I just thought about it right when we was getting on that I think this would be a great we dive out, do our little I'll dive in on it, and we could dive in deeper with them. I think that would be kind of fun.
That'd be good. That'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. So why this topic? Now I guess I'll tell you the reason why I felt like this was a good topic to talk about, because way America is heading. I think you're starting to see in America and the world, and we're starting to see more intermingling happening. So I think this is a very, today's current topic worth talking about, because that's what's happening. What are y'all thoughts on intermingling and interracial dating?
I got mixed reviews.
Big Mike.
Yeah, I got mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews.
Well, yeah, mixed reviews. One of my best friends from high school, he's married to an Asian, and she's like a sister to me. But what's funny is he dodged me when he first married her, because he was like Mr. like Malcolm X in high school, and but when he married her, he dodged me for a little bit. He might end up hearing this podcast, but it's the truth. It's the truth, my brother. And but man, she's like a sister to me to this day. So
nice.
Now, my personal preferences, I'll say that later on for the show. But
oh boy,
the show.
Here we go. That's interesting. You said that though, Big Mike, because I know we was talking about this right before we got on the air about how we have a tendency to, or it seems to always seem like when the topic interracial couple comes up, or that when you hear that, you automatically assume black and white. And that's interesting that you mentioned, and
Yeah,
mixing with the Asian and black, that it's more than just it's beyond just black and white. And actually, some of the stuff I looked up, I wound up actually finding an article from the Cosmopolitan UK. So it's interesting to hear about their take on interracial dating, as well as I know we're going to talk about what's going on here in this, in the United States. But that's interesting. You point that out, man. That that is beyond just black and white. You know
it
what I'm
is.
saying? I think we have a tendency to label black and white, and that also leads to something that I found that from my research, it looked like the three main areas that you mentioned about your friend dodging you. That's exactly like some of the common out of the two articles. I read one out of New York Times. Was an article about interracial, and both of them was in 21. And I'll make sure I leave the link to these articles in the description as well. But the three main areas that they said that a lot of times were being dodged or backlash came from family, friends / co-workers, and then dating and sex. That's one of the three main areas that where you find where there could be any kind of struggles in an interracial relationship is usually going to be in one of those three areas. What y'all think about that? Y'all agree with that?
I mean, there's some races. I mean, the majority of them, they won't even date outside their race. I'm not going to name them because I'm not here to offend nobody, but I think some of y'all know some of the races I'm talking about. All you got to do is go to, if you're in this area, go to RDU airport and just look around. And
well, he called out RDU.
Yeah,
He said where to go.
Just go to RDU airport if you're in this Raleigh area, Raleigh Durham area, and you'll see there's some races, man, they're not going to date. Don't too many of them date outside their race. I mean,
that's a cultural thing too. So
it is.
Some people, it's just a cultural thing. It depends how close they are or how strong they are following their culture. Some people, I would say, you have to be quote unquote from the old country in order to be culturally connected to your people. You don't have to be like from Africa or from Italy or from Puerto Rico, whatever the case may be, to be close to your culture. But some cultures, they just shun, dating outside their own races or, and that's something they got to deal with within. Then we on the flip side of it, where we're at, let's see, the three of us, we don't have that quote unquote cultural. Well, I can't say that either. It's frowned upon. I think it's frowned upon in the African American community. Why? Because African American women want African American brothers to get with African American sisters. But we'll probably touch it as we get into it. You don't have to be with an African American. I don't have to be with a sister. She doesn't have to be with me. She could be who she wants to be with. Honestly speaking, so I think that it's wrong to put walls around us in regards to finding a dating companion or love.
Right. Yeah, and that's real, because it's funny, because that was one of the things that I found that was interesting, was that actually when it comes to interracial dating, the I guess you would say the group or the sector that struggles the most is actually Black women. Actually has the most struggle.
Can you say that again?
Black women had the most struggle with that. All right, for different reasons though.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So they say well, I should say Black women has the hardest time with it, meaning that they have the most struggle from that standpoint. Like it's harder for them to find love, I guess you would say.
And this is one time I understand the sisters. I can understand why they're the least married out of any other race. They outnumber men heavy, so the slippings is the pickings is very slim. But that's why, ladies, y'all got to come correct now.
Oh, there you go.
Oh boy, hey, you coming to Big Mike, you gotta come correct.
That's why you got to come correct. But I do,
Big Mike, come correct.
They do have a legitimate beef, which I can understand.
Well, so this actually lead to, when it comes to women, that I found, which was on this one article. This was actually in the New York Times, And when they mentioned about for the black women, they were saying that what happens that they have to, we get into talking about code switching, and they say that usually black women find themselves having to do more code switching. And for those that's curious what we mean by code switching, I'm gonna give you one of the breakdowns that I found. The code switching is basically when we say code switching, we're saying is black. When black people say it, we're talking about, or most people talk about it. They're talking about is a way that a person way you look and speak and act among different settings, social settings, right? So one person you put on your interview face or your interview sound, or just to try to get a second date, right? So that's what it was sharing in this article about how some women find themselves having to code switch when dating because they are faced with stereotypes that they get stuck with, like always being angry or discontent.
Say
or
what?
Hypersexualized, always being there. He go. So the lack of the positive representation on TV and film. So women usually find it harder in interracial dating because they have to put on their code switch face in order to be able to maybe appeal to somebody that's non-black, right? So it was just interesting. I mean, I got some other ones in here, but what do y'all think about that whole code switching concept? I know y'all heard of the code.
That's real. That's real because you can see, for example, now I ain't gonna just pick on the sisters. I ain't gonna just pick on them, but let's say, for example, let's start with them. Let's start with them because we need to start with them. But let's just say this: I give you a quick scenario, very quick scenario. Sisters at home, a couple kids howling, screaming, banging, clanging, that's that, and the third going on. The phone rings. She went from hooping and hollering, y'all get down, put down, I'm gonna break it, da-da-da. Phone ring. Hello, how are you doing? I'm not just saying the bill collector voice, but maybe it's that man. Maybe it's that person she's dating. So yeah, they're gonna switch it up. But just
now code switch could be for anybody now. And
that's true.
Too.
True.
Go ahead.
True, yeah, but I was just in a scenario in regards to that. But anybody, like you said, on the flip side of it, we keep thinking about the black version of it. Now, the flip side of it, perhaps the person who's dating a black or African American person going to switch their speech or their hand gestures or their train of thought or just their lingo. Maybe they start cussing more, or maybe they might start using words they don't use around their own family and friends because now they're in another environment.
I have seen that. I have seen women from. I'm gonna be good on the sisters tonight. I've seen women from other races out in the corporate world. They are Miss Ronald Reagan at the job.
He said Ronald Reagan.
Miss Ronald Reagan. It gets no color than that.
Right.
So.
They got their Nancy Reagan on at work.
They're Brooke Shields at the job.
He said Brooke Shields.
But you see them out and about. They Kim Kardashian. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it is a code thing that goes on. And I mean, shoot, the way I talk slang with y'all, I ain't gonna do that on my job. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna know what I'm saying. Y'all about to get in the whip. They ain't gonna know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm at the crib. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I definitely understand. I agree with that, Mike.
But I only have an issue with, you love who you love. I don't knock that. I mean, I would prefer more blacks to be with blacks, not because I'm prejudiced, it's because we just don't have too many good images of black sticking together. And we've always had like a black cloud over our head that we can't work together for nothing. We can't stick together. We got the most single mothers. A lot of us I remember at one time, I mean, it's a blessing to have two parents,
Right.
But if you're in love, you're in love. But I feel this way. Don't feel you need to, outside of your race, don't feel that another race is going to be better for you, because I know a young brother of mine. I remember he told me 10 years ago, he was like, maybe not quite 10, but he was like, remember we was on discussion. He was like, "Man, you can have them sisters, man. I'm good with these girls, man." So he ended up getting married, had a baby, and now he ain't seen his child in
Oh,
years, and she got some other dude laid up, man, and he's scared because he don't know who this dude is around his, and it's a daughter too.
Wow.
So like,
Wow.
I ain't saying nothing, but my mindset was like, well, you told me it was better on that side, brother. So you know, just if you fall in love, you fall in love, but don't go out there just like I'm straight hunting for dark meat or white meat. It might not turn out good for you.
Where you want, and that's funny because that's interesting you pointed that out because that's something that actually came up in this kind of the three main areas. I know we talked about this before we got on the air that the three main areas that I noticed from both articles that it seemed like there was in common is that where interracial relationship struggles at or has what we say the backlashes or concerns are with their family, friends, and coworkers and dating. And so when you talk about dating, that was something that was interesting about dating, specifically online dating. So there was this survey that I read that was from the UK, from the Cosmopolitan UK magazine, and it was talking about the breakdown of. They did a survey, and the survey was they actually interviewed. Make sure I get the numbers right because I don't want to bring fact checking me up in here. Because this was an article that was put together through the Cosmopolitan UK, along with his writer and that wrote this article and book that was called the Mixed Up in Love Report or Mixed Up Book. But anyway, they wound up surveying like 1,000 UK adults, and they mixed it up with from Asian, blacks, mixed, white British, and white other. And they found, and in the survey, they found when it came to online dating, that 37% of that group that they surveyed experienced racial fetishes when it came to dating, meaning that they was having people who were just dating them because of their race. They may have a fetish for Asian, may have a fetish for Black and Caribbean, an example. So they were saying out of that 1,000, the Asians had the most, experienced the most like racial fetishes, or you want to call it racial fetishes, but people just had a fetish for their race.
Yeah, so fantasies.
They had the fantasies about them. So 51% up, 56% was Asian. The Black Caribbean was 50% out of that survey. So they must have thought they got them island girls, boy, they from the island, from that water, or that island dude. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was interesting that 37% of them said it that out of that group experienced that. I have never thought about it that way as that's what makes it hard for them to date someone. Are you dating me because you want to date me, or you dating me because you got a fantasy for me? Never thought about that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And since we're on the topic of dating, they were saying that that's some of the things about when it comes to dating is that one of the suggestions that you should immediately go into talking about racism immediately, because that talking about racism is very low in interracial dating. Actually, they encourage that you should talk more about racism, because that's some of the problems that happens is usually say we use Black people, for example, that wind up code switching. They, like you said earlier, Big Mike, they usually code switch, but it's like the code switch get a stigma of being like a negative code switch, and like, you know, as if there's something wrong with being Black. And and it was a young lady in this one article in the New York Times who was giving her experience, and she only date white men, but her issue was that she was from New Orleans, had a heavy Southern slang, right? And so she said she found herself, using her code switch voice to get a second date with men, but she always would hesitate when it came to relationships because
what was her race?
Her mother, she was Black.
Okay, but she used a different accent to get.
She code switched, she put on her professional voice.
Okay.
She was remaining. She refused to. She was ashamed or was afraid to talk in her, as she in the article. She didn't want to, give a negative stereotype or give a negative impression by going too New Orleans, too Southern, too slang.
And they got a heavy accent.
They got a heavy accent. But she was concerned. Her concern where it kind of made a challenge in her relationships was that it made it hard for her to feel comfortable to introduce boyfriends to her mother, because her mother, was in her late 60s, and she had a heavy, Southern slang, but super smart. But she didn't afraid that her mom would get a negative, would come off as a negative impression on people she was dating.
Yeah, I mean,
it's even, yo, man, even some churches, man, will look at people funny style, because I noticed, and in some churches, a lot of the races, all right, a predominantly black church, if other races are coming through, 9 times out of 10, they're married to a black person, man, which is, I've never, I'm sure it exists, but I've never seen, I'm talking about the churches I've been through. I'm not going to say their name, but.
Are you saying like a Pentecostal church?
But Alexander, me and you been to this, we go to the same church. I've never seen a different race come in with nothing but a black man or a black woman. I'm telling you, it's so churches got some little racial divide going on too, so when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Well, look, I got a question.
Sure.
I think we're being politically correct about all this right here, this conversation. We need to get to the meat potatoes. If you don't mind, brothers, if you don't mind, let me ask this question. Why is a black man got to go outside his race? Why does a black man feel as though, why does this man leave the black woman for somebody else? I'm not going to say white. That's the first thing comes to the minds. But why does he date outside the race?
From what I hear from other brothers is they say that,
that's a good one, El.
They say, yeah, it's a great question. And I think what my answer is, y'all going to agree. Most of the brothers that I hear, they say that the attitude from a black woman, not.
Can you say that again? Say it again.
The attitude, not cooperative. I had one dude, he was like, man, she all nice to her boss. She come home, she all nice to her other color boss, but she come home to me and give me hell. And I'm paying most of the bills. So, I mean, I've heard that too. So, to be honest, man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not going that route of dating another race, but that's one part of the reasons why I'm single, because the tug of war, man, No,
and I asked that question not to, really to get.
I'm not trying to bash, but
no, not just that, for people listening too. So that's like the first thing that comes up, when I hear other, have conversation with other brothers or just stereotypically, that's what they'll say. If you get a round table with a bunch of black men, if you ask them to raise their hands, maybe 9 out of 10 is gonna raise their hand because of the attitude. Now the flip side of that, maybe they have an attitude because us as black men giving them attitude. That we have to own up to that. Now I could definitely say that. Or is they have attitude because of what you're doing? It's a possibility. But in general, that's what most black men would say. So when they date outside their race, the first thing they think of, man, I gotta find somebody, quote unquote, who's gonna be submissive, who's gonna be, fix a plate without arguing with me, or this or that. And I'm not talking about being subservient in my, me personally, but more so being submissive, whereas, you don't have that pushback. If instead of that pushback, you have more of a conversation like that gives you some type of some logic to why they disagree with something, rather than they having their head on the swivel, a hand on the hip, or something getting thrown at you, for whatever reason, But that's the biggest thing I think that a lot of cats would do that I know of. They move outside the race because they ain't trying to hear it. Look, because it's easy. It's easy to do what they want to do, whether it be good or bad. Maybe they up to no good. Maybe they just like the lifestyle they're living, happily, because there's no pushback when they come home, or they get more, back rubs or X, Y, and Z. It ain't no lip, but if that's the life you want, go get it. Honestly, go get it.
I can honestly say,
I think the lip is probably different on different cultures, experience, and background. But go ahead, what you saying, Big Mike?
I can honestly say I dated an African girl one time, and it was totally different from dating a Black American woman. Man, she was very settled, talking. I didn't have no problems. Another reason.
I think that's marriage. I think that's probably
because we did a show on that. I think earlier. I ain't gonna go there because I really pissed some women off then. But put it this way. Put it this way. At the time, well, no, I'll say it. At the time,
say it, Mike.
I just wasn't into dating women with kids at that time. So
okay. How many she had, Mike?
She had 2.
Oh, damn, that's messed up, Mike. You ain't too.
Is that the one that got hot? What you talking about? For this guy? Is that one? Is that the relationship? When the son got mad to me, you gonna kick me out for this guy?
Nah. You don't
love none of the kids, man.
It's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about her, and I remember, and I was just thinking about her because when we had gotten an argument, she was like, she called her sister, and she was like, "These black men, and I was like, and when they get mad, they'll call us the N-word with the quickness.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yo, now what's that supposed to mean? But it's funny you brought her up. I was just thinking about her because I was going to bring that up later on in the show. And as we got in an argument, she called her sister. I tell you, sister, these black men.
Well, that's the reason why the sisters don't like us right now, because of people like you. You don't like the kids. You trying to throw them out. You gonna marry them. What's up, Mike?
Quit playing like you got this.
Oh no.
Clean record.
Nah.
Well, I mean that brings up something else though that you said, Big Mike. Though that I was starting to show off. Like you said, support the sisters on this one here. Or the women in general. I should say women in general, but specifically the sisters because of the research I found. But the flip side to that is that we do as black men get stereotyped too. So funny you said that we immediately get to put in that box like, oh, this and that actually leads into one of the reasons when it came to my personal experience of dating outside, African Americans. I've dated outside of African Americans before. I dated a white chick before and stuff like that. And
say what?
Oh, I didn't know you had jungle fever.
That's not PC, Mike.
This is GBA right here. You know what I'm saying? GBA right here. This was that Wesley Snipes phase. You know what I'm saying? But
that's a good movie, by the way.
Good movie.
Yeah.
But now one of the things that I saw in this article that was actually one of the things that was one of my concerns with not just only white, because I know we said earlier it's just dating outside your race in general, was that I was just concerned about was one of the things that is something that's important when you think about going back to dropping some keys or for those that are considering or prefer interracial dating is that you want to make sure that I'm concerned about was like misunderstanding and miscommunication, meaning that I always joked around. I used to always say like, man, I'll just get hot if she mess around and get mad at me one day and just call me out by the call. You make me sick. You in? How would you respond to that? You know what I'm saying? Like how would I react if she was to call me outside of, you know what I mean? We know we hear from the sisters is one thing, but I was always afraid of like, how would I respond? Not saying I would put my hand on a woman like that.
Right.
But I'm just saying like, I just feel like the relationship, I feel like would be ruined if instantly if she
called
called me.
If
anybody outside of that was not
she
black
said it in public. What if she said it in public on top of
it? See, that's the stuff that's the kind of stuff I worried about. That's the stuff I worried about. It was other than that, it's about who make you happy. Wonderful. Things happen for everything happened for a reason. Wasn't meant to be. But great relationship or whatever, cool relationship or whatever. But that's my biggest concern, because you love who you love, right? But it's like what happens? They call you out like you saw in public. They call you, yo, nigga. What?
Stories too, man. And a dude told me he got into it with his girl. She came out and said it. I've heard that from women. You know.
Yeah, that's the part that I think is hard, man. That's the hard part, and that's the part I was afraid of, and that I guess kept me from going too far out. But I mean, I've heard it from us too, though.
Yeah.
But now going back to so with that being said, some other we're talking about and I was going to save it towards the end, but I guess it's also a good time to bring this up as well. Is that one thing that I did take away from both articles is that that for those that are able to couples that are able to make it in interracial couples, they said they usually have a very strong bond because they are tackling a very challenging obstacle, which is, race, racism. And when when they're a unit, they say a very strong unit. And that's when actually they say that's the best resemblance of the world or America is that when you got interracial couples, when it's beyond just a race, you just two people that love each other. You see what I'm saying? So,
you know what?
That was too PC.
That's funny, bro.
But you know what? I like what Alexander said because I was going to bring this up. I'm glad it reminded me of the point I wanted to bring up. Think about right now commercials. It's hard to find a non-mixed couple commercial.
Every commercial.
I mean, at one point when I first started noticing, I can't say what year it was. When I first started noticing, that's when like, yo.
But I don't see the brother with the bad, bad white chick. I don't see that though.
Nah, but I'm just saying in general.
You know what I'm saying? But I see him with a bad black chick though.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying in the commercials, but I don't be seeing him with this girl be looking plain, man. I'll be like,
plain Jane. But you know what? It's just funny that it's just so many commercials nowadays. Yeah, it's just so much interracial commercials. Yeah, I mean for cards, sales, peanut butter, Pampers. I don't care what it is. They just put it all together, and I'm not saying they're trying to brainwash people. I think that, like Alexander pointed out, is more of a acceptance. The world's accepting the fact. I don't think they kind of beating us upside the head with it, but I notice it more and more. I do notice it more and more. I have no problem with it.
It's the Obama effect.
I don't have a problem with it either.
I don't have a problem with it. I think the only thing phony about it is, I think it's real phony. All these kids got the most beautiful hair. They'll never show none of them nappy-headed kids or the weird-looking ones. Everybody's kids, like, they got beautiful skin, and that don't happen all the time. It just
that's TV then.
That's the TV effect of it.
But that goes back to how we talked about it at the top of the show about how that's where the world is heading. That's why this is actually is a really good topic to discuss because, like you said, that's where depending on who conspiracy theorists, whoever want to look at it, that they trying to, like you said, brainwash or infuse it. But yeah, you're seeing it more and more on TV. You're seeing the interracial couples, like you said, the kids are looking perfect, but you're seeing more and more of that every day because I think that's again where, as we know, where we're not supposed to bring up January 6th. Well, you know what I'm saying? January 6th.
Why can't we bring it up? Why can't you bring it up?
I'm just saying January 6th is when depending on who you talk to, they say that's when people's feathers will ruffle, that they getting tired, they scared of being a minority. And
well, whatever.
Decide they want to act the fool because they're scared of being a minority. But you see what is
But then again, man, when you look at and I'm gonna be unpolitically correct or however you want to say it. You look, y'all hear that echo?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, but you look at it now. Look at even though they're not married, look at Biden and Kamala Harris. It seems like he kind of pushes himself away from her. But mark my words, this is a prediction. When that he ain't running again. But if he was to run again, you would start seeing them more and more that last year. But if you notice, he's not even really, even though she's supposed to be the vice president, he's not really affiliating himself with her. Or, I mean, when Clinton and Gore was in office, you saw them together all the time. You saw Pence and Trump all together all the time.
I mean, I ain't gonna dive into it, but I think he's been having some mental issues lately.
Oh, he does. He does. Yeah, he does.
That might be a reason why they're doing it. I'm not quite sure.
But they should put her more in the forefront, though, if she's the vice president, though. I just think there's something more. I know, but it's hard to tell because I don't like to assume. That's the worst thing I think you could do to anybody is assume it could be racial or like
I don't
somebody a snitch and you ain't sure. You know,
I don't think it's racial. To be honest,
you know,
I don't think it's racial. To be honest, but I don't think it's beneficial to anybody for them to be together at the present time. You know, they only gonna be together when it's most beneficial for the entire party. You know, I'm not gonna jump into politics, but I'm just saying.
Why would you think they're not though? I mean, is that some type of code? You know,
that's
what I'm getting at.
That's a good one. That may be another good topic though.
Yeah,
just never know.
And I just told you I wasn't gonna get into that, Mike. See, there you go.
But this is deep.
But you know what? But you trying to avoid the next question I have for you, Mike.
We can talk about that off air because I really
we can talk about it off air. Well, we're gonna get back to the topic at hand because Alexander ready to volunteer.
But that is on the topic. But go ahead.
But they're not dating though. They're not dating.
Alexander revealed to us. Alexander revealed to us that he had dated outside his race. Big Mike, have you dated outside your race?
I have never dated outside of my race. But
why?
I have had relations, but I've never.
That's TMI, man. That's just TMI.
Yeah, I'm getting my Bill Clinton on.
Big Mike. Big Mike crazy, man.
I've never dated.
El Boog, your turn.
No, I never dated outside my race, man.
Stop lying.
Never dated outside my race, man.
But you have relations, though.
No, that's relations.
All right, then. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not talking about relations. I'm talking dating outside the race. We talking about dating outside the race. I've never dated outside my race.
No,
taking them outside to a date, holding hands, walking through the park. No, never did.
But oh my God, I felt the pressure though. I remember when I was in New York and I was at a conference and I was with my boss who's white. Oh my God, man. I thought the South was vicious, man. Up north, man. Alexander, I remember telling you when I came back from New York that was going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, boy, they was looking at me like I was up in like Manhattan. That was like up in Times Square, man, where there's a mixture of everything, man. And
they ain't like that.
Oh man, nah, man. And even when we got in the cab, man, the dude was like Middle Eastern. He was even like, "That's your wife?" I was like, "Nah, man." And I wanted to say, man, she was
nah, man.
He denied her.
No, I'm like, nah, this my boss, man. But she just looks young. Well, she don't look young. Anybody would, but you know. And then I remember when I went to a basketball game and I had some tickets, and I gave one to a coworker who was a Carolina fan. We went to the game. Everything was cool. Then, but you know, they saw us sitting together, and you know. It was like, oh, you know. And then it got to the point when I could tell she was feeling the pressure because when it was time to go, even when we was leaving, she was like, hey, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to talk to you later. So I could tell she was feeling that pressure too. But I don't give a damn what nobody think, man. But I felt that pressure up in New York, though. I ain't going to lie. Now, there I felt that pressure, man.
Well, I do got one funny story that I know. That's what El Bull trying to push me to talk about was one.
I wasn't digging.
I'm gonna do a quick one. A quick story was so. Make a long story short, I had we decided me and my date, I should say, decided to go to the movies, and the movies that we were going to go see. Matter of fact, just tell you how this really date things. It was way back, like it's like an Independence Day movie. That's when Will Smith. I know we ain't talking about smacking folks right now, but I'm just saying Will Smith, Independence Day. That's how long ago this story was. But anyway, we was going to the movies, and so on my way there, I'm trying to decide because where she lived at, she did live closer to a movie theater that was in the hood, but I had never went out with a with a
Don't
white
say
girl before,
the hood.
and so
Where in the hood? Which area? Don't say New Bern Avenue or.
over at Tower, dog, over back in the day, over at Tower Cinemas back in the day,
Robbie.
over, and so. It was
Tower
like
Twin.
so what I caught myself doing was being slick. Like, yo, I saw some some movie times across town over in North Raleigh. We could go over there real quick. This is the time. She's like, well, I already got us some tickets. I already prepared. We could go ahead and go to Tower. And I knew she asked that question to see what my reaction was going to be. And so I just looked at her. I was like, Tower? She was like, yeah, Tower. And I was like, yeah, let me get another drink. Get my thoughts together. And so, make a long story short, we walked into the movie theater. Like I said, it was my first time going out in public like that. Now, she don't get me wrong. Now, I mean, she was all right. She was holding it down. So, and she messed around and she messed around and had on one of them little old cat suits type of outfits. So, the sisters wasn't trying to feel that. But I'll never forget when we got online. I was nervous though, but I felt good when I messed around and I standing online with getting some refreshments or whatever, and was talking, and there was a sister in front of us, and I just remember her turning around, and all I heard her say was, "No, she didn't." Not no, he did, but no, she didn't. And then her man was looking at the same time. And she talking about, nigga, what you looking at? And that right there, I was like, you know what? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. And because she came in there stunting on him, though. She came in there stunting on him, but good. But to the flip side of that same young lady I'm talking about used to work at a Quick 10, low key, used to change all everything, but she knew how to fix herself, a real hard working.
Wow.
And
I might would have kept.
Yeah. Well, things happen. So it's a whole nother side of the story we had to tell you off the air, but
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But it was an interesting experience. They did tell me that that where they was from, I forgot where she was. It's been a while now. I think she might be somewhere like originally from like somewhere like Cleveland or somewhere Tennessee, something like that. I guess I don't know, but I do remember her telling me something. From what I remember her mentioning something to the fact like where she grew up at. They were racist, and but so. But anyway, she came to Raleigh and changed her ways.
Hey, some probably do it to rebel against parents too, man.
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I tell you what's a trip is when you get cool with one whose parents ain't cool with another race, but you cool with her. And I remember she was telling me is a Mexican chick that used to work at a store that me and the homeboy of mine used to run. And I remember she was telling me, because she dated black dudes. And but her sister dated nothing but Mexicans. But I remember she telling me, she was like, yeah, my parents, they tell me don't date a black guy. They don't treat their wives good. They're not good to their children. I was like, dang. I was like, well, what if you got with a white guy? She was like, oh, they wouldn't care then. I was like.
I've heard that before too. I had a friend of mine that's Mexican. She told me the same thing. I was like, yeah. She was like, she told me kind of similar down the same line, like, that it is never about a color or your skin. Yeah. She said, because we have Mexicans that are darker than you. She was like, it's just that we growing up, and that's what we said at the top of the show, a lot of different ethnic groups is about their culture. She was, like you said, was told same exact thing from her parents, from her mother, her grandmother. They all said, stay away from black men. They make too many babies. And I'm looking at her like, I ain't talking about black people make too many babies. No offense. I got love for my Mexican brothers, but they make babies too. So I'm looking at her like, what? Talking they make a bunch of babies. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what?
Some of them had their Million Man March too, for real, coming out that house.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. I looked at her like, yeah, really? And then I leave it there.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting point you brought up, Alexander. So, have you guys experienced your own kinfolk telling you, your mom or whoever, don't you bring no white girl home, or don't you bring something outside of the race home? Have you heard that or experienced it personally?
That's a good
Not putting your moms on the spot. Not putting your moms on the spot.
Moms or dads.
Okay.
You know what? Honestly, not like that, but I've heard hints though.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like what?
Yeah, like I remember I was calling from over in Greece, and I was like, yeah, me and my boys, been hollering at the women, and mom dudes were like, and white women though over there, right? Like, oh dang, Christian values just went all the way out the door on that one, huh?
Well, say went out the door. Say went out the door.
I'm like, man, they got blacks over here too, I just went right on out the door. But but the way, I mean, nah. I think my dad would have been. I think my dad, he would have been the one tripping,
You've been tripping.
Yeah, he would have been the one tripping,
Right.
But shoot, man. I'm telling where he done slid in through his years, how much he was out there. So I ain't even.
Right. What about you, L-Book?
I've never heard it, but I know like Mike, she never even hinted something like that. But it's interesting you asked that. My mom never say like don't bring somebody home, but she'll be very interested to see my track record. I brought all black home and it still messed up. So it didn't make a difference who I was bringing home. But the issue, I think my mom is, just as long as that person is good to you, she would accept and love that person. As long as that person loved me, she would love that person also. So now my mom never came out of her mouth saying something like that. But she would acknowledge, she said, it's she acknowledged, people with different ethnic dating outside the ethnic group. So they would have problems, because especially coming from their time frame growing up, because my parents been married over about 55 years. They seen, the difference between, that's all they knew was within your race. Outside that race would be taboo, causing problems, people getting jumped, beat down and stuff like that, so they would, because of where they came from and their time where they living in and their generation, they wasn't going to they ain't going to say, hey, we all for it, go get somebody outside your race. But now that times have changed, they would definitely be more accepting, so if my mom and dad, the way they raised me, they was like, do what's best for you. They always encourage what's best for you.
And something that you said earlier too, a lot of times it's nothing, Elbo, what you said earlier is a lot of times it's nothing to do with, both of y'all said this. It's nothing to do with skin color. Sometimes it's a lot to do with just cultural differences, because I noticed a lot of African women prefer to date men much, much older than them. Much older. That's just how they are. They don't like men their age, man, not even close to their age. I'm talking about like 15 years on up. So I remember a friend of mine who was not the friend I talked about earlier, but I knew another guy. He was married to an Asian woman. She took offense to, like if he was to start cleaning up or stuff, or she would get mad. So there's difference, yeah, man. So, but she was from Asia though. She wasn't from Asian raised in the United States. She was from
Asia. She was Asian.
I know
he's from Asia.
You mentioned you're Asian or she from Raleigh.
It's a whole different. So that culture, that's what I'm saying. That culture is a whole lot different,
Yeah, the Hispanic culture is like that too. They're like that too. The Hispanic culture, man, they make sure that men eat, they clean, make sure that. And I much respect to the Latino community and you can see, but you got to experience. You got to be around it to see it. Because the world is a huge place. Is that what's up to you? Or or do you want somebody to argue with you about your socks on the floor? You know,
Well, anybody could probably argue about the socks.
Everybody argue about that.
About no race about that.
No. But I'm saying, what is it you want in your relationship? But you know, some like you said, some cultures. About you.
But as we see, some pinned up jabs here. But I'm gonna say, I will say one for you, El Book. I did have a whole girl that was Canadian, and I remember her telling me, you know, she was in Canada. I went to go visit in Canada, and she told me, she was like, I just hate the way, you know, Black American women treat Black American men. Now,
I've heard that.
Of course, she had a circle of a bunch of other Canadian women, because she was actually Ukrainian and Brazilian mixed, but there was other. Her little clique, and they all had mulatto babies. Tomorrow, yeah, we all got mulatto babies. That one got a mulatto baby. That one got. I was like, yo, what are y'all? I got a ring of y'all trying to just go over to the States, grab brothers, and bring them back to Canada.
Make a baby,
make a baby tomorrow. And they had one of her friends who's a white girl that didn't have. She said, well, yeah, she's got a mulatto baby. She got a mulatto baby. She named like 3 other girls, and her, she hasn't crossed over yet. She need to get together. She need to get a black man. I was like, yo, y'all wilding out here. But I was in one of those I was in that Mike moment where I didn't want to, at that time, I didn't want to settle with somebody that had children. So, you know, no offense to any woman that had children, but that's where I was at that time.
You guys are pigs.
All right, so to wrap things up, man, I do want to make sure that I know before we do the final remarks or anything that y'all may want to start wrapping things up, because I think this was a really good topic. I don't know about y'all. I thought this was really good. But I did want to say for those that, again, I know we put our own little personal stories and to this topic about interracial dating. But something I did want to leave away for some good points out of both of these articles is that if you're looking at dating outside your race, don't be ashamed and don't worry about the backlash, right? That's the takeaway. Don't worry about the backlash.
People will get over it.
People will get over it. You love who you love, and that's that, Did y'all have any final thoughts on?
I was going to say, sisters can be a headache, but I love them,
There you go.
Boy, there you go.
I mean, keeping it real. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, statistics do show, I don't have the numbers, but most Black women do marry within their race. So, I mean, we can't say they're disloyal. I mean, I just think we got, as a race, though, we got a lot of stuff to fix, man. We got a lot of stuff to fix and quit trying to be in competition with each other. But back to the subject, man, I don't have no problem who a person dates, man. Love who you love. Just remember where you came from. And, just be sure that you're willing to deal with those, deal with the pressure too, because it's going to be pressure. It may be from your job. I know a guy who told me he was cool with all his bosses, so they found out he was married to a white woman. And then, then he told me too also that a lot of times when, and this is from some races, man, if they have a baby outside of their race turns their back on them.
Oh yeah.
Their race will turn their back on them. Or they'll never be able to date somebody else in their race again. So, a lot of that you have to take in consideration. Me, I prefer to be with a Black woman. I ain't got time for all that. I mean, I want to go with what I'm most familiar with. But if a bad dark-skinned Latino come into play now,
dark-skinned Latino. Why you said
dark-skinned Latino?
I might
said dark-skinned Latino
or Blasian. I might, What's your parting shots, my man?
Before I say any parting shots, the comments and views that Big Mike says is not representing the GBA.
So you don't prefer Black women? Okay.
So there we go. You would not put me on the spot. You would not put me in the corner. But my departed my last thoughts on that the topic of interracial dating is just like you said, Big Mike. You gotta love who you love. I think the biggest thing is you shouldn't have to think about love. Love should just happen. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You shouldn't have to take a test and study and think about the consequences of me loving somebody outside my race or dating
That's
somebody outside
real.
my race. But you should have to wrap your mind around the realities of the world we live in. So whereas if you are walking hand in hand with this individual, no matter where they are, and they're in their community, your community, another community, are you ready to stand up for her? Is she ready to stand up for you? You know,
Yes.
if you both don't have that real conversation to begin with, or somewhere in the mix when y'all start getting serious, I don't think you should go any further. That's just me personally, because at any given point, any given moment, anywhere you at, somebody gonna say something out of pocket. You know, it might be her, or it might be you. You know,
Yeah.
so you gotta have the respect for one another. You know, because true love sees beyond color. You should be colorblind in regards to that.
That's
Honestly
true.
speaking, that's how it should be. You know, but the reality of the world we live in, are you man enough, or are you woman enough to stand up for the person you want to be with because they're outside of your race, even if it's your mama? I say that because it could be, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about, you know. But I'm not dating outside my race. I'm not dating nobody right now, so I'm neutral.
Well, y'all both. I agree with both y'all 100%. And Boo, you wrapped that up really good. Actually, one other thing I was going to snatch something that was in one of the articles that I thought was extremely important is that piggybacking off of what both of y'all has said is make sure people that you are comfortable with being your authentic self in your relationship.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
Oh man, that's that's a whole nother topic itself.
A
Boy,
whole
you
other
got
topic by itself.
people acting like they saved, they ain't saved just to get that woman. Like this pastor told me he said they was having like an altar call, and the guy was looking back at this woman like, "You see what I'm doing for you?"
Yo, man. Yo.
He said, "I told the brother, you got to choose God for yourself, brother." But that's a whole nother topic itself. Yo, man, write that down, man. We gotta do a show on that, bro.
Exactly. And so on that note, well, before we go, I do want to give a shout out. El Bull, Baby Girl Podcast. What we got? What's the name of the podcast?
Oh, trash versus treasure, or treasure versus trash.
On YouTube, right? Or
it's
YouTube,
on YouTube.
All the different streaming platforms.
Yeah, Spotify, YouTube. Trash versus treasure, treasure versus trash. It's about reality shows about dating, like Survivor and The Bachelorette, things of that nature. So it's a great opportunity for two young sisters, her and her counterpart, have a great discussion. It's real relaxed. They invited me on as a guest previously on an episode about dating with children, and I was really glad to be on there. And it's a real relaxed. Even though we did it virtually, you know, they encourage having a glass of wine or two, as they say.
That's right.
I quote them. But
that's right.
Shout out to Trash versus Treasure.
All right, go like and subscribe their channel.
Shout
you know
out
what
to
I'm
them.
saying? You know, also I got another podcast I'm on as well, you know, called Underrated Profession. That's give y'all a sneak peek of barber conversation, barber talk, but from a barber school perspective, but also make sure that we are celebrating, saluting, and informing the barbering industry. And so it's a really cool podcast as well. And we going to be just telling stories, some barber stories of hidden, you know, heroes, or I guess you would say unsung heroes in most of these communities that got a story to tell. We want to make sure that we give a platform for them to be able to share some of their stories of things that are happening in their community. So, but I'm glad to be back with my brothers here, my original home base here at Guilty by Association GBA. Make sure you like and subscribe, share. I'm glad to be back home. So on that note, I'm Alexander.
I'm Big Mike.
Bell Boogie.
In the building.